Good game, 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 good game.
So this clip, we're not just turning the page, we're painting over history. Previously, anyone who's played sports will recognize the whole lining up parallel lines opposite directions from one another and high-fiving. That's the way to do it.
I say we pass a law that requires anyone who voted for that orange piece of shit to wear their Trump hat 24/7. Because conservatives are dangerous for anyone who isn't white, Christian, or male. Completely dangerous. Like dynamite waiting to go off in your hand. So I think we should all get a public service warning. Don't you?
What's dangerous is trying to tag a group, a portion of the population that doesn't appeal to you, marking them in a way that allows you to express bigotry and hatred. I'm not quite certain, as I wasn't present at the time, but I think this has been done in places, I don't know, Germany, or shoot, somebody can help me out. So you know, pogroms, apartheid.
Okay, so we're closing in on almost 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and I've been tracking everything that's been going on across the country today. And my most important encounter was when I went out to get my champagne. I was talking to the guy in the store, of course, asking him, did he vote? And he said he did early voting, and he asked me if I early voted. And he asked me, you know, why I was getting the champagne, and I said, because I'm going to be toasting Madam President tonight. And he just looked at me with kind of like a smirk on his face, and I said, you know, she's going to win this, right? And he says, oh, well, it's very, very close. And I said, no, it's not. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, no, it's not. The women of America are making their voices heard. Reproductive rights is what it all comes down to, and the women are voting in numbers relative to men that are unbelievable. She's won this. And I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa. And he said, oh, but the numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst. I'm telling you right now, the numbers are there. She's taking this election. And then I said to him, you realize, and he didn't tell me who he voted for, but of course I knew. And I said, you do realize you wasted your vote, right? And I didn't care. I walked out with my bottle of champagne and happily walked home. Bye-bye.
Yeah, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but cackling your credentials as a political analyst, you've got to be the most incompetent political analyst to have not seen what was happening. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've said already, I was on the edge of my seat there for a period of time. But for the weeks and months prior, I had been studying those same polls that she supposedly had studied, but obviously hadn't. Real Clear Politics does an aggregate of all kinds of polls across the country and produced incredible numbers showing battleground states, numbers with or without, candidates from other parties or independent status, the betting averages. And when you take all of that and put it together, it was close, but it was always on President Trump. What was the questionable portion was Michigan and Wisconsin being less than 1 point for each state. And that was the thing that was kind of like, I don't know. bought the pizzas, we kicked it back, had a celebratory cheers drink as we watched the numbers.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
This is insane. He's choking back, and this identity group and that identity group. And then he keeps going and adding to the list more and more. And then he gets to the funding of Ukraine and just starts crying and really choking up. The audience, they're just feeding into it, clapping and celebrating right along with everything he's saying. I mean, you guys are insufferable. This is part of the reason you lost, is you are completely out of touch. Imagine, all of those billions could have been kept domestically in our communities to rebuild infrastructure. Nah, you had to play war games. Anyway, it's been roughly, 72 hours since Trump became president-elect, and peace is breaking out everywhere. The Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas have said, hey, we're done. President Putin said, President Trump has shown the world how to be a man. Oh, by the way, we want peace, and we want you to buy our natural gas in U.S. dollars. German government collapsing in upon itself after this election result. And we still got 3 months to go until the inauguration.